Hello, my lovely writer friends, and welcome to this week's edition of Turning Readers into Writers with me, your host, Emma Dhesi. And today I want to talk about the importance of goal setting. And I think this can sometimes feel a bit businessy or a bit self-helpy, but I do think there's a lot to it, and I think it can really help you get closer to that dream that you have of writing your first novel. And I wanted to start off with thinking about just telling you something that one of my online mentors, Denise Duffield-Thomas, talks about quite a bit, about how when we're children and it's our birthday and you have a birthday party and you're told to make a wish and blow out the candles, but to never tell anybody what that wish is, otherwise it won't come true, you'll jinx it. And she, in her house, has made a conscious decision and effort to change that, and for her children to tell people around them what their dreams are. What is it they've wished for on that birthday cake? Because, as she says, if nobody knows what your dreams are, or if you don't say them out loud, then they just stay in your head and they never come to anything. They never come to fruition. And it's almost like we are being taught to be ashamed of our dreams, to be embarrassed by what we wish for, when really we should be excited about what we wish for. What is it that we want? And wouldn't that be wonderful if it came true? So instead of thinking that we're going to jinx ourselves and that our dreams and ambitions and goals are something that we should keep in a dusty corner somewhere, she says, bring them out into the open. Let everybody know what they are, because the more people you tell about it, the more chance you have of achieving it. I can think of people who are looking for a new job. So, for example, my sister-in-law, the business that she was working for closed down, and so she needed, her goal, her dream at that moment was to find a new job. So she let everybody know about it. Hey, I'm looking for a new job. Do you know of anything going? I want to do this. I want to do that. This is the kind of role that I'm looking for. And so by telling everybody about it, then other people came back to her and said, oh yeah, I know of a job going at this place, or there's a vacancy here. This is who you need to speak to. I'll tell them that you'll be calling them. So by putting it out there, by having that goal, that instead of, she was not embarrassed to say, oh my goodness, I don't have a job right now, this is awful. She was open and put it out there and said, hey, I need a job, I'm looking for a new vacancy, can anybody help? And so the more people that knew about it, then the more the quicker, in fact, she was able to find a new position that she was happy with. So I want to encourage you to put your dreams and your ambitions out there in the world and don't be embarrassed by them. Now, there's a few reasons that people get embarrassed about putting their goals and their dreams out into the open. And that is the fear that if you tell somebody about it and it doesn't happen, what are they going to think about you? There's that kind of fear of failure thing going on, isn't there? Or embarrassment that you've not achieved what you said you would achieve. And really, I don't think you need to worry about that. I don't think any of us need to worry about that. The more that we put that goal out there into the world and tell people about it, the better our chance of achieving it. Because then, just like my sister-in-law, then we get to talk to other people. When your friend is talking to their friend who mentions something about a writing class or an author they know, then your friend remembers you and will put you in touch with their friends, so you get through connections, and that's how you network without networking. Just letting people know that this is what you write, this is the stage of your career you're at, and what it is that you want to achieve. Because the other thing to bear in mind is that when you go for a goal, when you go for an ambition, even if you don't hit that particular marker, other amazing things happen along the way. Other phenomenal things that you can't even envisage yet happen along the way. So I can use myself as a perfect example for this. My ambition was to write my first novel. So I did that. What I didn't see coming necessarily was that second and third book. What I definitely did not see coming was that I would be a coach to help other authors write their first book. I certainly did not envisage myself having a podcast like this. I absolutely did not envisage myself hosting events like the fabulous Be a Bestseller 4.0 event, which you can get the replay for, by the way. You can totally get all the interviews. It was a fabulous interview series with so many authors, educators, coaches, editors, all sharing their expertise on a particular area of the writing life, as well as the writing itself. And I'll put a link to that in the notes. I never would have had that ambition. Never, ever, ever would have thought that I would be doing these things if I hadn't written that first book. It blows my mind when I think back to all those years ago when I first started that first manuscript and where I am now. And it's been such fun along the way, but none of it would have happened if I hadn't had that goal to write the first book. And that leads me on to the second thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is that goals are not set in stone. Thank goodness. Thank goodness, because our lives change. So we'll start, we might set a goal from the current place we're at in life, but by the time we achieve that goal or get halfway to that goal, our life has changed. We as individuals have changed. Our ambitions for ourselves and what we want and what makes us happy and what excites us, that changes along the way too. And that's what's so wonderful about a goal. Even if you put it out in the world and you say, my big ambition is to write 10 books, but then you get 5 books in and actually the excitement of doing that has worn off and you want to do something else, which maybe is to coach other writers, or you want to change this type of book that you're writing. So maybe you were writing children's picture books, now you want to write middle grade, or you were writing middle grade and now you want to do adult books. So that can change along the way, and there's no embarrassment in that. Nobody's going to turn around to you and say, hey, I thought you only wrote children's picture books. And you can say, no, I write adult books too. I do both. And they will be very impressed with that. They won't think, wait a minute, your goal was only to write children's books. Does that mean you failed in that goal? No, it just means you've broadened that goal. You're reaching for other things as well now. So do remember that your goals are not set in stone. You can change them at any time you want. And having that flexibility is what will keep things interesting. It's what will keep things fun and will keep things, will keep your ambition going, will keep your sense of purpose going, because there's always going to be something new along the way that you hadn't thought about when you first started writing that first book. But now that you're in a different position, you're in a different place in your life, you know different people now as well who are throwing suggestions your way and opportunities your way that now you're here seem like great fun and just the right challenge that you need, and so you say yes to them. So remember that you're allowed to say your goals out loud. Do not be afraid that if your goals don't happen, it means that you're a failure, because other amazing things are going to happen along the way. My example being one in point. And remember, your goals are not set in stone. You can change them at any time you want. So laying the foundation there that goals are great to have and really do give you a sense of purpose and a sense of focus. I do also want to talk about the fact that different types of goals work for different people. Now, because I'm an entrepreneur, I've done a lot of reading around business books, a lot of business training. I have a business coach. And in that space, they talk a lot about having big goals. If you want to achieve writing 1 book, you've got to imagine yourself writing 10 books. You've got to have this huge vision for yourself. And I know that does work for some people, and you might be one of those that really, if you want to, I'm thinking of Betty Davis and Claude Rain when they talk about, why reach for the moon when we have the stars? I think that was the way around it was. Or why reach for the stars when we have the moon? And for some people, it's the reaching for the stars that means they will get the moon. and they've got to have that big goal. They've got to have that big vision, that big ambition to reach for those stars if they're going to have a chance of reaching that moon and attaining that moon, grabbing that moon. And maybe that's you. So if that is you, go for it. Have as big a goal as feels right for you. And that goal needs to feel it needs to feel stretchy. Stretchy is the word, so that when you think about it, it makes you feel a bit nervous. You know, you're thinking about one day you're going to be doing a book signing at Barnes and Noble in New York City. And it makes you feel a bit nervous having a big goal like that. But it's got to feel achievable too. So maybe it's not the flagship store of Barnes and Nobles in New York, but maybe it's the big store in the town or city that you live in. So it still feels stretchy. It still feels like you've got to work hard for that you've got to make things happen to do that. But at your heart, in your soul, in your gut, you know it's achievable. You know it's attainable if you just keep going for it. And as you keep going for that big, big goal, you know that other small things are going to happen along the way. And as long as you reach for that big, big goal, you're going to get closer to it. And you'll get closer to it than you ever would have done if your goal had been small. Does that make sense? So in order to grab that moon, you have got to reach for those stars, which are so much further away. However, I have to admit, this technique doesn't work for me. And maybe you're the same. I like to have smaller goals. So whilst I do have the ambition and the goal to have at least 10 books in my back catalogue, what really keeps me motivated and what keeps me going are those smaller goals. And for me, that looks like one book at a time. And in fact, even smaller than that, it looks at one stage of the book writing at a time. So for me, the goal will be just to write the first draft. That's as far as I can look at any one time. So I know that I'm going to devote 6 months to writing a first draft. That's what I focus on. All my energy is there. That's what I live and breathe and dream about over those 6 months. And then I get to tick that off. And the good feeling about that is I know I've taken one step closer to where I want to be, which is that finished book. So then the next level for me then is doing the revision, or the first pass of revision on that book. And again, that's then where my focus is. I just give all my energy to that, and that might be for 2 or 3 months. And then again, we've got the next pass, and my energy and my focus is on the key things for that particular pass. So maybe by then, I'm not looking at structure. I'm looking at the finer details. Am I liking the language that I'm using? Do I have the right seasons in there? Is there enough description? Do I need to fill in some dialogue, those kind of smaller things. And then when I have done that pass and I get to tick that off and I feel good because I'm one step closer to having the finished product, and so on and so forth. Then I get to think about book covers. Then I get to think about the proofreading. Then I get to think about, okay, who am I going to reach out to for my ARC copies, to be my ARC reviewers. An ARC is advanced reader copies. So at some stage we get to a point where we're looking for people, strangers, to read the book, knowing nothing about it other than the blurb, and then review it and feedback on it. And that's hugely, hugely valuable and an essential part of your publishing journey. But for me, having that one step at a time really works for me. Rather than looking to reach for the stars, I'm just trying to get to the moon. And if I break that down even further into small stepping stones, stepping goals, I know I'm going to get there because I've reduced that feeling of this vast space where anything could happen and it feels out of control and it's overwhelming, but rather I chunk that down into small bits that can get me there. And for some of you, it will be the same. And maybe you've not thought about it in that way before. Maybe you too have heard, you've got to have a big goal, you've got to have a big vision, but actually you don't yet know what that big vision is. That feels just too abstract for you right now. And really the thing that you are just trying to focus on at this moment in time is getting that first draft down. And that's, let's be honest, getting the first draft of your first novel is the hardest bit. and it will take up your energy. It will take up your brain space. It will keep you up at night. That's for sure. So it is so important to have those goals. Those are the things that keep you focused. They keep you on track. They are the things that let you see that you are making progress, that there's something tangible there that you can turn to for the evidence that you're making that progress. Whereas for others, it's going to be that big, let's reach for the stars goal. Know which one it is that works for you and be good with that. Be okay with that, because maybe you're going to start off with the small goals, but as you find your feet and you get used to your process, your writing process, and the pressure of writing that first book lessons, and then you can kind of lift your head from the desk and look out and think, okay, what else do I want to do? Just know what works for you. Be okay with whatever form of goal setting you have, but do have a goal, whether it be a big one, whether it be a small one. Make sure you've got a goal that you can reach for and that makes you feel good and feel like you're making progress once you accomplish it, or when you see that you're getting closer to it. So I hope that's given some of you a little bit of sort of focus and giving you something to think about. And if you don't have a big vision goal, don't feel bad about it. And if you've got a big vision goal, how can you chunk that down into smaller goals that will get you to where you will get to those stars? All right, I'm going to leave it there for now, but if you have any comments, any questions, any thoughts about any of this, please do go over to my Facebook page at Emma Dhesi Author and let us know. And of course, if you're enjoying the podcast, if what I'm sharing is of use to you, please do rate the podcast wherever you listen to it. And if you have the time, please leave a review. Even just one line saying, I really enjoy this podcast, is enough to give others a chance to try it as well. All right, take care for now, and I'll see you soon.